Hey guys, Chelsea here, and today I'm going to show you how to enhance the eyes and hair of your subject in Lightroom. I'm really kind of warming up to Lightroom. I usually do a lot of things in Photoshop, but I read Tony's Lightroom book. He's pretty good. He's good. I may be biased, but he's good. And I've been picking up some tips and some tricks and applying them to my own photos, so I figured I'd show y'all. We'll go on a journey together and we'll edit this picture of Asia. So let's start by selecting this adjustment brush here. And there we go. And we'll press O on the keyboard, and then it shows you a mask of your brush. So I'm going to make my brush bigger by using my right bracket on my keyboard, but you can also use the size slider here. I like to just use the right bracket because then you can put it over what you're trying to select and just see what an appropriate size is. So this doesn't have to be a really clean selection. You can use the erase tool after and clean it up. But you can see that her hair is really just kind of, the texture's lost in the shadows, and I really just want to make it pop. She has really beautiful hair, and I want that to be more prominent in the picture. Come around this side here, see some, I think there's some hair going on over there. And then these little wispy parts, I'm not going to attempt that now. I'll go back to that when I'm touching things up. And now press O again to make your mask go away. And I'll raise my exposure and my shadows. And I'll raise my highlights a little bit just to make her hair look a little bit glossier. You don't want to do it too much or else it starts to look like she's wearing a wig, and that's not cool. Okay, so let's bring the color temperature up because in person her hair is actually a bit more red than it photographed. And I'll bring the tint to the warmer side as well. So that's pretty subtle. Let me press Y and we can see a before and after. It's a pretty big difference. It's subtle, it's natural, but it adds to the picture, I think. You have all this green, and then in contrast you have these red tones, and I think it looks beautiful. So I'm going to select a little more hair and make my brush smaller with my left bracket and get some of these little pieces here. Her curls, I noticed, weren't as defined in this area. So I don't really want to accentuate that. So I'll go to my erase tool and I'll bring the flow to about 50%, and then I'm just going to make those a little darker. That was actually a little bit too much, so I'll go to my brush and I'll bring the flow down, and I'm going to bring it back up a little bit. So that looks pretty good. If you can fine-tune yours and go in and add or take away. Let's press New here, and that makes a new adjustment layer. So if you don't press New and you start making more edits, it's going to edit the part where your mask was for the hair. So you have to press New, and then you can start editing something else. And in this case, that's going to be her eyes. So I'll make my brush smaller again with my left bracket. I'm going to press O so I can see what I'm doing. And I have to turn my flow up. Turn it up to about 80%. Okay. And again, this doesn't have to be perfect because I like to go back with the erase tool and neaten it up. It's so difficult to edit the eyes in a picture and make it look natural. I see so many pictures, and I think that that's one of the things that I always notice is that you just keep editing little by little, and then before you know it, like the person has scary Halloween eyes or something. I don't know how it happens, but it always seems to happen. Okay, so now I have my erase tool selected, and the flow is at about 50%, and I'm going to just start blending it in here. Because this part of the iris will be in shadow a bit, so you don't want it to be as bright as the rest of the eye. The brightest part is going to be across from the catch light, so about here will be the brightest, here will be the brightest, and then you kind of just want to blend it up into the shadows. And you want to make sure there's none on your subject's eyelids or anything like that. And that looks pretty good. So I'll press O, and then I'll bring up the exposure. I'll bring up the shadows a bit. She has really nice dark brown eyes, but I'm just going to change them for this picture to match all of the other colors. So I'll warm up her eyes. Oh, actually, I'll cool them and go towards the green side and give her some green eyes. So if you bring up the exposure too much, they're going to look really fake. So you've got to find the right balance. I'll bring up the highlights a bit too. And then I am going to use my erase tool and just bring down these parts that got a bit too bright to make them look more natural. That's better. And I'll use my brush and just select a little bit more of her eye that I blended away because it looks a bit dark to me. It helps me sometimes to just zoom out and see what's going on. I'll bring my exposure down a little bit. And I think that looks pretty good. Another thing that I like to do is go in and just increase the clarity a bit in the eyes. So let me select again a new adjustment brush layer. And we'll go to clarity. Let me press O so that I can see where I'm selecting. I'll get some of her eyelashes. I'll get her iris, her eyes. Let's get this whole thing. So let's see, we don't want to bring it up too much. And then I'll use my erase tool, and sometimes the sharpening can kind of like make the highlights peak. All right, I'm going to select another layer, and I want to bring out the whites of her eyes, so I'm going to use the dodge tool here. You can press O if you want a layer mask, or a mask rather. See, I'm in Photoshop mode. If you're a messy Bessie like me, you got to go back and clean it up. People always ask about my Wacom tablet. And this is the Wacom Intuos, and I love it. But it's not necessary. Like, Tony's a mouse person. I don't know how he does it. He's really good with the mouse, but as someone that loves drawing, this just seems so, it feels really natural. Okay, I'll press O again, and just bring up the exposure a little bit. All right, let's take a look. I like to zoom out and see, make sure it looks natural. And if you click on your brush here, then all those little dots go away and you can see it. Let's press Y and we'll see the before and after. So it's subtle, but the green eyes definitely go well with the red hair, and the red hair pops against that green background. One thing that I notice is that there's quite a bit of detail in her forehead here. So mostly this lesson's about bringing out the hair and the eyes. I'm just going to make some other general edits too, because why not? We're here, we may as well. So let's press the adjustment brush again, and we'll go into the effects, and I'll go to soften skin. Control plus zooms in, and then if you press the space bar, you get this little hand here and you can drag. I touched up this white makeup in Photoshop before too, but I don't know what I did with that file. Okay, so if you find that it's too softened and is starting to look a little bit unnatural, you can just bring up the clarity a little bit. So I think that looks a little bit too softened, so I'll just go up to about -75 here. So I'm going to press New again, and I'm going to do a bit of dodging and burning. So we'll do dodge first, and you can see that the exposure is just up a little bit. And dodging is nice because you can contour the face, or if you want to bring out your subject's hair some more like I did, you can just go over the highlighted areas here. She has curly hair, so you just kind of brush everywhere that there's a natural highlight, and it can just make the hair seem shinier. If I press O, you can see where I'm working. And I might actually want to just reduce the flow a little bit so it's not so harsh. Okay, and then I'll make a new dodging layer, and I'll do a little bit of contouring on her face. So I'll press O again, and when you're doing contouring, you want to get everywhere that there would be a natural highlight. If you're a woman and you do makeup, if you're into makeup, you know how it works. You want to bring out here, the cheekbones a bit. Let me make my brush bigger and softer. The tops of the cheekbones. The chin. It should be subtle, otherwise it can look really artificial. I'll bring it up just to show you. You don't want that. It starts to look like wax. You gotta be careful. And now I'll make a new layer and I'll go in and do some burning. And once again, it kind of works like you do contouring with makeup. You want to burn in the hairline a bit. Let me press O so you can see where I'm going. And in the natural shadows of the cheekbones, you can kind of follow the shadows that your subject already has on their face, just to kind of naturally highlight. A lot of people have the thing where like they don't have a chin. Asia has a nice chin, but you can just kind of darken underneath to accent the chin a bit more. I'm just pressing Control plus and Control minus to zoom in and out. And then alongside the nose, we'll slim and define the nose too. And you could use it in the hair too if you wanted to bring out some of the curls again or accentuate your subject's hair. You could just go into the shadows and deepen them a little bit. All right, let's press O and see how this looks. If you do it too much, the person looks like a creep. You just want to very slightly add shadows. Now, if during any of your steps you go and you look, let's do the Y and do the before and after. If your subject is starting to look too artificial or scary or waxy, you can just go in and you can undo some of your edits, and I'll show you how. So let's press Y again and get rid of the side by side. You can go into your adjustment brush, and let's say I think I don't know, messed up the highlights in the hair or something, or the burning. You just select that point. It showed you what it was the burning, and then you can adjust it. Or the eyes. You select it, that showed me that was the eye whitening, and I can go in and adjust it. So let's see, that's the hair. wow, very clear about what's going on. And if I think that I need to increase or decrease the exposure, I can go in and fine tune it. That's pretty much it. Let's look again at the before and after. I think that it added a lot of pop to the photo. It was easy, it's pretty fast, and it's a lot of fun. So I included a picture file down below, and you can download it and edit alongside me if you like. Thanks so much.